And you know, if it's Tuesday, it's all about the docket. As always, on time, in the house, Edwin Obuya.
Good morning, sir.
Umesha kunywa tiagas yote ama?
I'm ready for Tuesday. I'm ready for Tuesday.
And as usual, Fanya Mambo, political analyst, breaking it down. Kama Daw. We cannot start the show without mentioning Sunday's blockbuster interview between the what I call the awesome threesome.
Yes.
Our very own Linus Kai, Joa Gayo of NNG, and Eric Latif of Standard Group.
Yes.
Fanya Mambo,
Yes.
what do you think of that interview?
I wish the president never went for it because he came out worse than when he had gone in. You see, the president had realized that the nation is not with him.
Yeah.
And he hurriedly called an interview hoping to bring the nation closer to himself. He ended up doing the opposite. Because most of the things he said, I remember him making a promise that from now on they are not going to have money for the offices of the first lady and the deputy first lady.
And the third lady as well.
Yeah, something that we had fought about for a very long time.
Yeah.
But he had signed the appropriations bill for them 3 days before. So basically, what he said was not going to happen. So, and then, you know, Kenyans could see people, and then the fact that now the media people, and I thank them for bringing out the videos and showing this is what you said, this is what you're doing, this is what happened, this is how the abductions are going on, and so forth. And I think it left the president in a worse place than he was when he began. And I think that's why Kibaki used to keep quiet. Kibaki used to
hardly give any interviews.
Yeah, he used to say, you know, silence and noise, even the devil himself. So he would just keep quiet. And then you'd be left guessing and wondering what's going to happen.
I don't remember a single interview that Kibaki gave.
Yeah, but I'm happy he did that interview, because you see, when people who are making mistakes, sometimes you don't want to correct them. I just wish he can do another one next week and another one the following week.
I have to start by mourning the lives of those that we have lost during these demos. When you hear those stories and you watch the stories on TV and you hear the families crying out for help, 17-year-old kids being killed, 12-year-old kid being killed, and the president asks, the boy is alive, right?
He's alive.
You know, it's just...
Oh, man.
It doesn't show him as a person who is empathetic with whatever that is happening. I doubt even if he is remorseful that there was a finance bill in the first place. I think he withdrew the finance bill because he was forced by circumstances. He's not remorseful. When you hear some of the few MPs that have spoken since the withdrawal of the finance bill, they are not even remorseful themselves. They're telling you, if it comes today, I'll vote the same way that I voted. And we have, our hearts must go out to those families that are mourning, the loved ones. You know, the numbers keeps increasing each and every passing day. By yesterday we were at 39, and the president was saying 16, I think.
Yeah, 19.
19 by his last count, and we are at 39. And each and every passing day we hear stories of families reporting that their kin are missing. You know, they are found their loved ones in mortuaries. And Jeff, these are young people. A kid of 12 years, I don't know what sin he had committed to be shot by a police.
And 8 times.
8 times. And these are stories that, you know, the families, it's not just numbers that 39 people have lost their lives during demos. These are people, real life. They have names, they have families, they have a father or a mother, and most of them are young people who had a whole life ahead of them. And for them to lose their lives because of the police brutality, because most of those people, even if they were demonstrating, they were unarmed. You know, when president says that they went and you know, took over the armory at parliament, and I was there and I was like, which armory? Which parliament are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
It's the president, like Fanya Mambo says, I think that interview was too rushed. I feared for myself. You know, as a media practitioner, I was very fearful of what was going to come out of that interview, because I thought, you know, even the bashing online was that media wants to do a mosho moja. They want to cleansen the president, to make him look a better person. But when the president struggled the way he struggled, and the answers he was giving were not good answers, I think we came out as somehow credible as an industry, and it was worse on him as a president.
Overall, I mean, his communication team, Fanyamambo, I mean, are they to blame for this? I mean, someone has to take the fall for this because they threw him under the bus.
Allow me, before I answer that, to talk about the men of cloth who went to State House. And I want to ask them on national TV, mulienda State House kama nani? Mulienda kama nani? You people first did not object to the finance bill. You pastors, shame on you. You had no problem with the finance bill. You never complained about finance bill. You pastors never went to any maandamano. You did not take any tear gas. You were not on the streets. You were not shot. Yeah? These pastors never, and even when people were injured, no pastor went to hospital to see them. None of them went to donate blood like the Gen Zs have gone to donate blood. None of these pastors was seen to be involved in any way in anything that was going on. They didn't even occupy parliament. None of their members has died. None of them is in hospital. None of them has been injured. And none of them has appeared to be seen to have been fighting against the finance bill. And then they hear there is rice that has been made in State House and it's ready. And they all rush there and they go and eat. And then they say they are having dialogue with about what? About something they never said they had a complaint about something they were never involved. They were never tear gassed. They were never on the streets. I just saw them with purple collars and big stomachs in State House, and they had gone there to eat, literally, and to say they are having a dialogue with the head of state. Shame on all those pastors. Mulienda State House kama nani? Mulitumwa na nani? Mulikuwa mna represent nani?
Are you saying they're taking credit?
Tear gas siku gani?
Wanachukua credit?
No, they are going to eat. There's nothing else. They just went there to eat rice. There's nothing else they did. I mean, and by the way, the only place we have seen those pastors involved is when they went to Kuria Kimani's home to pray for the chicken that had been burned. and they were singing burial songs for chicken that had been burnt in Molo. And you look at them and you wonder, men of color, what got into your heads, or what is wrong with you? You don't have time to go and see young people in a mortuary. You don't have time to go and see young people in a hospital. But you have time to go to an MP's home in the name of cleansing. I don't know what you are cleansing dead chicken for. And praying for them and singing dirges there. I think we need to have a serious recall of pastors. And now we are going to start a war against them. And I've never said a physical war. Hii story ya kusalimia watu nimeona sometimes haiendi vizuri because it's becoming more like anarchy. That's not what we are promoting. But these pastors, we need now to start naming them and to start absconding their churches and to start walking away from those pastors and their churches and to make them known for who they truly are. You cannot lead Kenyans to go and mourn chicken before you mourn young people who have died. And shame on all those pastors. Mutatuambia mulikuwa mmeenda State House kufanya nini, because it is wrong. I don't know what they were doing there. But come to the presidential communication team. A tree will only give you the fruits of what it is made of. I have always said an orange tree will never give you mangoes. He chose the wrong communication team. Isaac Mwaura, who comes and tell us tuache maswali ya kipuzi, and a few others there who are saying all sorts of horrible things. I mean, it's his goose. I mean, he chose them. I say 50 million Kenyans. What the head of state did, he woke up one morning and chose all the wrong ones. All the very horrible ones. And give them positions. And then he's wondering why things are going wrong. From the ministers to some of the PSAs to some of these people we are seeing in communication. I mean, they say things and then they think later. And that's where we are now. That's where we are. So I'm not surprised that he has a problem with communication. And it's going to continue because the people he has there, that's the best they can give. You can imagine this is their overdrive. This is the best they've given their communication team.
I think the problem is President William Ruto.
Because he doesn't take advice? Or
I don't think he takes advice. I don't think if Hussein Mohammed is my classmate, we were together in college, and he's a very solid communicator. And to imagine that he's the one that has failed the president, I can't want to imagine. I think that's the president is the problem. And if the president has seen it fit that Isaac Mwaura is the best, then president has the problem. You know, because if you know you attract what you are. If you are attracting people that cannot deliver, then you obviously have the problem. The buck stops with President William Ruto. And even whatever he was saying on that interview, you know, haphazard, lie upon lie. You know, they are putting it to you that Kenyans don't believe you, and you saying it's you has never believed me, and there are clips that are being played that show they are showing you exactly that, you know, this is what you said then, this is what you are saying now. Anazusha ni wewe uniamini. Finance bill has been withdrawn. You know, one of the things that were in that finance bill was to increase VAT on palm oil. You know, and just even if at a dust haija settle, you know, we are being told that that VAT has been increased by 10%. Something that you had promised that you are going to withdraw, use it to withdraw from the finance bill. Yeah. And so it just shows him as a person who is allergic to saying the truth. I think that's what it is, because every time and that's the problem, because, you know, hata kama president anaongea ukweli, as a Kenyan we would want kweli.
You have to double check.
Kweli.
Become a Donald Trump.
Yeah, because
you need to fact check.
Because you can never tell when he's telling the truth.
Yeah, Philip Ruto.
About the doings and the undoings of whoever has caused this. You see, the president has no one to blame. I saw him saying my cabinet would have done better, my communication team, and all sorts of things. Just like we say in every other docket, that the buck lies with whoever is at the helm.
Yeah.
So the president has no time to pass blame. In fact, what he is faced right now with is a situation where he should be very careful not to say this one performed well and this one did not. What people want to see is an overhaul. If anyone has to listen to them or to him, is an overhaul. Vile tu alianza akisema ofisi ya first lady, ofisi ya nini, he would have continued and said,
yeah.
If you can pronounce that there, you are the president, you would have said at a cabinet, we are going to reshuffle the whole of it. Leadership
those are the best he has. Those are the best people.
Sasa tusaidie. Now, he's saying in as he looks for some dialogue of sort with the angry Kenyans.
Yes.
He's saying, give me the alternative. When he's done dealing with his best, I am very sure Kenyans will be very ready with the alternative.
Ruto, where is he going to find these Gen Zs who are leaderless, who are tribeless, they are classless? Who is he going to talk to? He says he wants to have a dialogue.
You see, these people are not interested in sitting down with the president.
Yeah.
They are interested in seeing the constitution followed to the letter. And they have said, we have seen wastage. This is what you can do about wastage. We have seen corruption. This is what you can do about corruption. We have seen a bloated government. This is what you can do about it. They have listed all those things. And from what I heard the president saying, he is privy to all those suggestions and demands. What these Gen Zs want is, you see, like just the way I'm telling you, the way he was able to say, I have heard people say the office of the first lady and second lady, that one will deal with it.
3 days before that interview, he had signed the appropriations bill, which means that the money for those ladies will still
budget already.
So he cannot unsign, and he's not willing to unsign, but he's willing to talk about the fact that he has withdrawn that money.
What about the ostentatiousness of let's say State House, Wanamagari, Sijui Ngapi?
Jeff, I told you, and I think we had this conversation last week. You know, Kenya just woke up one day and discovered that there was no furniture in State House. Uhuru used to sit on plastic chairs. The cups there were borrowed. When Museveni comes, they would go to the neighbors and borrow some plastic chairs. I remember even Museveni came with his own toilet. I think the toilets in State House are not working. So we found ourselves in a very horrible situation where we urgently needed to buy furniture for State House, and for that reason we spent $1 billion.
1B?
Yes, on furniture, because Uhuru must have been sitting on plastic chairs. Or I think maybe the sofa set there. Well, maybe the bench was like the bench in JKL Live. That's the bench for waiting for visitors. So I think this is the problem we have. People who say exactly the opposite of what they mean. And they would say it and then immediately start doing the exact opposite of what they said. So that's where we are having a problem.
Obuya,
Yes.
You think he will change after Sunday? You think we'll see something new? We'll see, we'll see any? No.
As a president, like my say, Ruto's uncle had said, a rejection of a finance bill is like a vote of no confidence, and that's a fact.
Was that Papa Roma?
No. That is a prime
DVD.
cabinet secretary.
That is in itself is a very huge thing. Is a very huge blow. Actually, Ruto is where Kibaki was in 2005. When that orange and bananas was, and immediately that happened, Kibaki took action. He was never a person who was very quick to take action, but he took action. We saw half of his cabinet, being dismissed, and for President William Ruto to be asked about his cabinet and is not even committal on what he's going to do, say we could have done better. Are we going
He's telling us to watch this space.
Right.
For how long are we going to watch this space? When is the action coming? If action is not coming, then it means that these are the people the president still trusts the most to deliver his agenda to Kenyans. And Jeff, you would want to, like Fanyamambo says, you would want to think that something positive should be happening in this government, but there's none. Mbolea tumepewa na Ukraine. Haifiki Kenya. Imepotelea high seas.
Imepotelea. Which means it's going to come in.
Yes,
na wauze.
Na hiyo mbolea tulipewa na Ukraine na Russia, that's what we are being sold here at 2500, na tunaambiwa mbolea affordable
subsidized
donation we are given, and then tunakuja tunafanya 1 to 3, then you are being told this now a subsidized fertilizer you are being given 500,
or they repackage it.
They are repackaging it.
You get free fertilizer from Russia and Ukraine. Then once you get it, you add gravel and donkey shit. Once you add gravel and donkey shit, and then you add Kenya Kwanza subsidy. So when you take something that was free, you dilute it 3 times, then you add Kenya Kwanza subsidy, it becomes 2,500. That is the math. Genius mathematics.
And someone has made it.
I think it's the 11 algebraic functions of zero. If you were to compare it to anything mathematical, what Professor Saitoti would call the 11 algebraic functions of zero. You take something that was free, you dilute it 3 times, and then you add stones and donkey shit, and then after you've done that, you add subsidy, Kenya Kwanza subsidy. Then you sell it for 2,500 and you say it's cheap fertilizer.
Fanyamambo, one thing that's really concerning to a lot of Kenyans is the so-called abductions. Young men are being abducted, they're being held for 3-4 days incommunicado, or if you listen to Ricky G, incommunicado. This is what he said.
Yes.
It's very, very concerning. Even up until MP Alfred Kiter, if that was true what we saw.
Yes.
It was.
It was true, and because the president addressed himself to it.
He did.
And he said the DCI, he said the cops arrested him and whatever. But I would like to say this. I think, first and foremost, none of those people was ever called and told, present yourself to this particular police station. And they said
and they refused.
I think for me, my submission to this government is, if you want to arrest us or anybody who is speaking the truth about you, because we are not fighting you, we are just telling you the truth about what you're doing. There's nothing we have said wrong about this government that's untrue. We just say the truth about this government. Instead of abducting us and abducting Keter and every other person, why don't you just have a habit of placing a phone call? And saying, we have a problem with you, bring yourself to this particular police station. Because first, you are wasting taxpayers' money using those vehicles and policemen who would have been keeping peace and doing other things, going to abduct people in such a way. I remember Alfred Ketel's, it was very sad because I could hear children screaming in the car and his wife was there. I don't think it was necessary. I am of the opinion that probably Alfred Keter is the kind of person he was told, present yourself to Central Police Station. He would go there probably with a lawyer. I've always said, if anybody in government has a problem with a citizen, let it be done the legal way. We have no problem with people being taken to a police station. You are told that this is the charges that we are preferring against you. You are put in a cell, you come, you pay your own cash bill, you are released, and you go through the court process. This is anarchy, which is what we don't want. Because what government now is doing is brutalizing its own citizens. They are abusing the rights of their own citizens, because the provisions of the law are very clear. If there's a problem with Jeff is taken to a police station. There's an OB number. You are booked in a cell. It is known which cell it is. But this horror of families having to go to look for Gabriel Oguda for 3 days. You don't know where he is. You don't know how you don't even know whether he's alive. You're afraid of finding his body in Rivayala. This is horrible. And I must tell people, let us try as much as possible to spread the news. Once someone is abducted, what must have saved Keter is the fact that there were videos and people spread them and people talked about it, because government hates when you speak loudly about an injustice, because then they are not able to cover it. So I'll tell Kenyans, if one of you, if we confirm that someone, not just rumors, but if it's confirmed that someone has been abducted, let it be posted all over social media, all over print media, all over radio stations. So and so has been abducted, so that it is known they've been abducted, so that we change this culture of abducting people and we start getting to a place where we arrest people the correct way. In fact, you don't even need to arrest people. I can tell you, many Kenyans, if they were called and told the government is looking for you, present yourself to this particular police station. All you need to do is to call a lawyer. And you go with the lawyer and it is confirmed. Your family knows they left you at Central Police Station. They don't have a problem with you spending a night in a cell, as long as they know you're in a cell and they know that they booked you in. What we have a problem is to imagine where you are and nobody knows where you are taken and why you are taken. And then after those 3 days, and these people need to press charges against government, because after those 3 days, no charges were preferred against you. So it was, what kind of arrest was that? So this is something that we must speak to. Let us not be afraid as every Kenyan to speak about it, that let people be called. Would rather say they were called 4 times, they were sent an SMS by the OCS, they refused to attend. That is different. But as long as you've been summoned, take yourself, go through the process. If there is a case against you, let it go to court. I would rather we hear so and so was declared, or that a judgment was entered against so and so, and that's why they're in a police cell. But being kept for 3 days is not acceptable.
We have been here before. Musando had abducted himself. He was having some fun with some girl. May God rest his peace in soul. Just to
His
find
peace in soul.
his soul in peace. Just to find his body in some downtown,
Even Father Kaisa shot himself and then wrote a suicide note.
After.
And in a shotgun, in a small pickup, the shotgun was able to fit and he reached the trigger and he shot himself. And then he wrote a suicide note.
We have had these stories. And this is one of the things when President Ruto, when he came to power and said, my administration is not going to do this. We are not going to see any Rivayalas again. We are not going to see ABCD happening again. And we see them happening, and he's insisting that they are not happening, and yet we are seeing them happening. Even his deputy has come out and told us, these things are happening. It becomes very difficult to associate President William Ruto with the truth. And what the young people are saying, that do ABCD. If you cannot do it, they will change, because 75% of this population is primarily the youth. And if you cannot then do what they're asking you to do, obviously they will replace you. And we have had names. We have had use when you enter those Twitter spaces. You hear names being mentioned. We would want Omutata to be the president. We would want Matiang'i to be the president. We would want Sifuna to be the president.
Miguna?
No, Miguna hata hajafika kuwa rigiji.
Miguna for Chief Justice.
and so the names are being mentioned, and if the president then does not change, it's going to be very difficult for him. When his war and Rigiji started, the people around the president were talking about generational change, and they never imagined that generational change can come in the form of Gen Zs, because most of them are not Gen Zs, and this one it has, and I think it's a good thing that they don't have a leader who will be called and be intimidated and be told
or
compromised.
Yes.
At times you are just told, we know where your mother lives. Unafikiria wewe ni nani? And then when you hear your mom being threatened, you kind of cool down. But this one, who will you threaten? You pick up Oguda today, there's Hanifa there. You pick up Hanifa today, there's Ruto there. And these are just people, ana pesa. He doesn't even have money. bundles.
He doesn't care.
The bundles do not
And an expensive phone.
Yes, and the power is always at 80%.
Yes.
That's the only thing they fear. Kama charge iko na 2%, ama bundles ni 2.
And pregnancy.
Na pregnancy.
Those are the things
Those
they
are
fear.
the only things they fear. They don't fear anything.
Oh, and marriage. They also fear marriage.
marriage.
They fear marriage.
Because
Yeah.
those are the things they care about. Charger, simu iko full.
Yes.
Na bundles.
Na bundles.
Na asipate ball. Hizo tu.
Murutu.
Vitu zingine unaambia ati serikali inafanya nini? They
Don't
don't.
care.
And I like it that the conversation they're having right now is, can we register as soon as IBC is in place? Can we register as voters? Because that's a huge constituency. If you don't have that constituency, you are not going to make it as a Kenyan leader.
At least we have had the judiciary saying wachaneni na hii maneno ya abductions. We had the president herself speak on what is happening in the country. There's this arm of government that we seem to be focusing on the executive and forgetting about after watu kusalimia wabunge kidogo. But there's someone who sits at the helm of that institution called the speaker. Yes, Papa Waroma. And I agree with the some that have observed that the speaker had some powers, had some opportunity to calm down what went on. But for some reasons, he didn't. For instance, when these things were being televised and you could see all over the country what was happening, all the speaker needed to do is put some brake in the house on this, which is within his powers. Instead of allowing it to go to the voting, he would have even allowed MPs to ventilate on what was going on around the country as a way of putting some brake of sort on the heat that was on that house, because that is where they were headed. That is where the Gen Zs are targeted initially. Second, even after going to the committee of the whole, someone is observing that, when that is happening, the speaker retreats and allows the deputy speaker to take charge at that particular point. The speaker going to his chambers, he had television and all that, and he was seeing what was happening. Even the advances that were being made towards Bunge. There was nothing preventing him from saying, guys, let us postpone this voting, as a way of cooling down the nation. Because the bone of contention at that point, or the entry point into this whole Mandamano thing, was the finance bill. Let us put some brake on this thing first, tuone Kenya yetu inakaa namna gani kwanza, and then proceed. Especially if the president got to a point of withdrawing it, there was no problem of them, as in that was within their powers, halting, wait, and then see what happens in the country.
Murutu, I don't want to term it lucky, but he was lucky to be in parliament that day also. And because we never thought that thing is going to happen.
Ever.
We never thought it's going to happen. Yeah. Because ulikuwa unakutana na wabunge, they are eating, unawaambia ndugu, things are happening.
It is coming.
They thought it's a fortress. It can't.
Yes.
And just after 5 minutes, seeing MPs now running helter-skelter, some fainting actually.
Watch out.
They never thought that thing is going to happen.
And if there was no tunnel,
I don't know what they would have done.
The only good thing is that, Jeff, that most of those people that entered parliament actually had no ill intention. Actually, ni simu na bendera. They had nothing else. And so they were not armed people that are coming. You saw what happened to Bishop. When they even escorting him where he was supposed to get some.
Yes.
Despite having voted the other.
Correct.
And they told him,
Yeah.
we voted, yes, you are not a friend, you are our enemy, but we are not going to harm you.
Imagine.
Unakupeleka kwenye unaenda kuwa safe.
Yes.
And there's a woman rep who literally she's not disabled, but she couldn't move. She couldn't move. Alikuwa amekaa kabisa because the fear was real. Because when those guys thought that thing is a fortress, that it can never be breached.
Right.
But that just shows you that the Article 1 of the Constitution is real. that the power belongs to the people. And when the people feel that you are not doing what is right by them, they are going to come for you. And for once, I think Parliament has realized that if we are not doing right by the people are going to come for us.
And that's why Fanyamambo, your people like your MP.
Yes.
They knew they were doing the wrong thing, because can you imagine, nobody who voted no was running away from the demonstrators.
Right.
Kimani Ichung'wah, that's when I discovered he can run, man. Kakoti kalikuwa bwa, 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 bwa. This is where you stop using your conscience. You're doing the wrong thing, and you know you're doing the wrong thing. And that's why when Kenyans decided to visit Parliament, kusalimia hawa watu, most of those guys, akina Kimani Ichung'wah, Dindi Nyoro, they were nowhere to be seen. Even KJ, I think KJ is very fast. Because nobody even ever, and by the way, we've never seen him in Dagoretti since then. And I don't think he's going to step in Dagoretti again. Because that place now, people have decided. I like the fact that young people have started the process of recalling their MP in Kabete. They've made it very clear they're collecting signatures. I know it is going to happen in Dagoretti. I know it's going. And what we are going to do as young people moving forward is to deny the president these foot soldiers that he has. And these foot soldiers now are the wrong people. So what we want to do is to make sure that none of them really gets to see 2027 constitutionally by recalling them. And we are going to do our best to make sure that they are recalled. Now, having said that, I'd like to say that this thing of Occupy State House is something I would like to talk to our Gen Zs about very passionately. Please, Gen Zs, if you can listen to me, and you know I mean well, and you know I have always been on your side, let us not go that direction. Sudan woke up one day without a plan on what they are going to do after they occupy the State House. And they went to Bashir's State House, and they removed him, and they drank alcohol, and they took money. Some were saying they are going to take counter suits here in Kenya. Some have even booked some wigs, I think Charlene's wigs and so on. But let me tell you, what that would do is that it would create anarchy. We would get to a situation where people discover there is no government. So I can come and take Jeff's car and tell him utadu. And then he can revenge by coming to my house and taking my wife and telling me utadu. I beseech you in the name of God, let us not create anarchy. Let us not go to a situation where, because you can succeed. I mean, you've proven that you can take over Parliament. And I would not be surprised if you took over State House, but I beseech you in the name of God, let us not do it. And the reason I'm saying that is because there are many other ways of removing President Ruto. Let us force him to resign if we can. Let us give him pressure or get an impeachment against him. Let us, worst case scenario, wait for 2027 if we have to. But whatever we do, let it be in such a legal way that there will be no power vacuum in this country, because we do not want to get from where we are to a Somalia or a Sudan kind of situation where, yes, you have removed government, but without thinking about what happens when you remove government. So my fellow Gen Zs, you are my friends, and you know I love you and I support you and we do these things. But I will tell you, going to State House and getting to remove him will not work that way, because that will create a power vacuum. It will create anarchy. We will have a country that cannot be governed in any way or sense or form. So I beseech you, let us try in the best possible way to just find either an impeachment or a forced resignation, but a legal way to remove the head of state if we must remove him. Na ikikuwa ngumu sana, let's wait for 2027. It's not too far.